Carissa Odegaard, a wife and mother to 5 beautiful children, decided to divorce her husband, Anders Odegaard, after years of alleged emotional abuse. On August 22, 2022, the children were at Anders's house, and Carissa went there to pick them up for church. Shortly after her arrival, an argument broke out between Anders and Carissa. Tragically, not long after, Carissa was found dead. But was this a premeditated attack or a moment of insanity? Let's unpack this devastating case. Carissa Joy Odegaard was born on October 15, 1990, in Stockholm, Sweden. Raised by her mother Carinda, who was a single parent, life took a beautiful turn when Carinda fell in love with Leslie Wojnarowicz, and they became a family when Carissa was just 3 years old. After high school, Carissa completed an associate's degree in graphic design. However, she didn't stop there. Carissa's thirst for knowledge led her to achieve a certificate in medical coding. But it wasn't just about studies for her. Carissa had an eye for photography, becoming a cherished photographer among many. Her unique crochet designs and other creative pursuits weren't just hobbies. They played a role in supporting her financially. Through her lens and nimble fingers, Carissa embraced a life of creativity, turning her imagination into something tangible. Beyond her creative pursuits, Carissa was a woman of faith. Strong in her Christian beliefs, she actively participated in her church. In every aspect of her life, Carissa embodied a spirit of strength, creativity, and faith. In the bustling journey of her life, Carissa's path intersected with Anders Odegaard. On the trajectory to becoming an attorney, Anders was a perfect complement to Carissa's creative and faith-filled world. Their love story unfolded, and on a beautiful day in Moorhead, Minnesota, on May 21, 2011, Carissa and Anders got married. As their journey as a married couple commenced, it didn't take long for the Odegaards to welcome their first child into the world. The laughter and joy in their home multiplied as their family grew, eventually growing to include a total of 5 children. To outsiders, the Odegaard family seemed to possess the perfect life: a loving marriage, 5 happy and healthy children, and a future full of promise. However, behind the facade of happiness, the foundation of their seemingly idyllic life began to crack. Over the passing years, Anders allegedly started being emotionally abusive towards Carissa, and he started showing signs of being mentally unwell. Carissa, resilient and enduring, put up with it for a while, but the toll of emotional turmoil reached a breaking point. On April 12, 2021, Carissa made a difficult but courageous decision. She filed for divorce. As the legal proceedings unfolded, both Carissa and Anders considered their marriage irretrievably broken, stating that their marriage cannot be saved. In the midst of this life-altering decision, a judge carefully considered the well-being of the couple's minor children. While legal custody would be shared between the parents, a significant change awaited Carissa. She would be granted sole physical custody. Despite this shift, Anders retained the right to reasonable parenting time, ensuring that the children could maintain a connection with their father. This was a big change for Carissa. The task of starting over as a single parent to 5 children was a daunting challenge. Yet, true to her character, she faced the circumstances with unwavering determination. Carissa embraced her new role, putting her children at the forefront of her priorities, as she always had. Though the kids primarily lived with her, arrangements were made for them to spend valuable time with their father at his place. On August 22, 2022, it was Anders's turn to have the kids over. All 5 kids were taken to Anders's house for a sleepover. The next day, Carissa planned to take them to church, so she drove over to Anders's house at 5 p.m. to pick them up. She put 2 of the kids in the car and went back in the house to get the other 3. These were the 8-year-old, the 9-year-old, and the 2-year-old. Carissa held the 2-year-old in her arms, and the other 2 kids were at her side. At this point, Carissa and Anders started arguing. The disagreement was about Carissa wanting to take the kids to church, which Anders was unhappy about. He tried to take the 2-year-old from Carissa, but she refused to hand the child over to him. The argument, which started outside, eventually moved inside the house. Tragically, the evening that began with a routine custody exchange took a terrifying turn. According to reports, tensions between Carissa and Anders erupted into violence. In the midst of a heated argument over taking the kids to church, Anders allegedly resorted to physical aggression, striking Carissa either with a spatula or a knife, before choking and hitting her while she lay on the floor. Heartbreakingly, the couple's 8-year-old son witnessed this terrifying ordeal unfold. As the violence escalated, Carissa, in a desperate plea for help, urged her young son to call the police, so he fled the house. Carissa's 9-year-old son then entered the room. He was met with the devastating sight of his mother lying on the floor, covered in blood and unresponsive. Anders instructed his son to leave. Overwhelmed by fear and the harrowing scene, he too fled the house. Both he and his 8-year-old brother ran down the street, desperately flagging down a passerby named Jim Van Sickle and asked him to call 911. A short while later, Deputy McMahon arrived at the scene. Jim, accompanied by the 2 distressed boys, anxiously relayed the gravity of the situation to the deputy. The older of the 2 boys explained that their mother lay inside the house, on the floor, bleeding severely, and said he thinks she's dead. Deputy McMahon instructed the boys to stay with Jim and cautiously entered the house, uncertain of the scene that awaited him. He called out for Anders, who responded, emerging from the kitchen area wearing only his boxer-style briefs. Deputy McMahon's trained eyes quickly took in the surreal and distressing sight before him. He noticed that Anders had what looked to be blood smeared on his left eyebrow and blood in his hair. Seeking clarity in the chaos, the deputy asked Anders about the situation, to which Anders replied, "I don't feel right." Deputy McMahon asked Anders where Carissa was, but he didn't answer. A quick glance down the hallway revealed a chilling sight. An unresponsive female figure lay in the front doorway. Concerned for both Anders' safety and his own, he informed Anders that he was not under arrest but would be detained in handcuffs. With this precautionary measure in place, Deputy McMahon turned his attention to the gravely injured Carissa. Upon approaching her, he noticed that she was not breathing. She had severe head trauma and had blood pooling on the floor by her head. Without hesitation, he positioned Carissa and started administering CPR. He continued CPR until Warren paramedics arrived and took Carissa to hospital. He noticed that a few other officers had arrived on scene. Deputy McMahon placed Anders under arrest for domestic assault. With Anders in custody, he was transported to the Marshall County Jail by another officer on scene. One of the deputies then transported all 5 of Carissa's children to the sheriff's office. Meanwhile, Deputy McMahon re-entered the house, confronting the aftermath of the tragic events. While inside, he noticed that the washing machine had been recently started and that it looked quite soapy inside the washer. He then turned off the washing machine, then left the premises shortly after that. The afternoon of August 24, 2022, cast a somber shadow over the Odegaard family as Sanford Hospital in Fargo, North Dakota, delivered a heart-wrenching update. Carissa Odegaard, despite the medical efforts, showed no significant brain function and was on life support. The news bore the weight of an agonizing reality for her family. Sadly, doctors couldn't do anything more for Carissa, so the following day, she was taken off life support. Anders Odegaard was charged with second-degree murder and second-degree murder without intent while committing a felony. He initially pleaded not guilty, but on July 6, 2023, he offered an offered plea to second-degree murder without intent while committing a felony. What this means is he maintains his innocence, but concedes there's enough evidence for a jury to find him guilty. He changed his plea after the state and defense agreed on a plea agreement, but his sentence wasn't going to be determined until August 15, 2023. The prosecution and defense outlined the plea agreement, which, if accepted by the judge, would have sentenced Odegaard to 18 years in prison. In Minnesota, it's presumed inmates will serve 2/3 of their sentence before being released from prison, as long as they don't commit any additional disciplinary offenses while in custody. This means Anders might have only had to spend 12 years in prison and the remainder of his sentence on parole. However, the judge withdrew the plea, saying Carissa's family was not notified of the plea agreement ahead of time, which is required by state law. Assistant County Attorney Don Andal said, "It's kind of a good thing because during the pre-sentence investigation, the defendant gave some answers to questions that gave me concern about his psychological state." Andal explained that a psychological exam was ordered for Anders. He was later examined, and doctors found him competent to proceed. In December 2023, Anders took a plea deal, pleading guilty to second-degree murder without intent. Then, on January 29, 2024, he was sentenced to 18 years in prison for killing Carissa Odegaard. With credit for time already served, he will likely spend only 11 years in prison before his release. It's been a year of adjustments for the 5 children, who range in age from 4 to 10 years old. They now live with Carissa's parents in Jamestown. It won't be the thing that defines their life. It will be a piece of it, and it will be a big piece of it, but it won't define their childhood or their life, said Carissa's sister, Anna Wojnarowicz. Life still isn't full of smiles. There are weekly therapy sessions, nightmares, and hard conversations. Carissa's last words were, "Call the police," as her oldest son ran into the street to stop a car for help. At 4 years old now, Oscar Odegaard still talks about the day his mother held him in her arms while his father bashed her head into the floor and strangled her. He often says, "Mommy died. Daddy killed Mommy. Daddy's in jail," Anna said, adding, "He's very comforted by the fact that Daddy is in jail." The devastating loss of Carissa, coupled with the trauma of witnessing the unthinkable act that took her life, has left her 5 children facing an incredibly challenging journey of healing. The pain of losing a parent is profound, and the unimaginable circumstances surrounding Carissa's death make the road ahead even more daunting for her children. Recognizing the long-term impact of such a traumatic experience, the kids will likely need ongoing therapy, a crucial component of their healing process. However, therapy, along with other essential expenses like school fees, clothing, and so on, can be financially burdensome. To support Carissa's precious children in their journey towards healing and rebuilding their lives, a GoFundMe campaign has been set up by one of Carissa's close friends. If you feel moved to contribute to their well-being and provide them with the necessary resources for a brighter future, you can find the link to the GoFundMe in the description. In the wake of the tragic loss of Carissa, our hearts are heavy with sorrow for her family, especially her 5 children. Carissa's life was a testament to the profound impact one person can have on those around them. As a mother, Carissa embodied the true essence of love and grace. Her elegant approach to parenting, tailored to each of her children's unique personalities, reflected not only her nurturing spirit, but also her commitment to providing them with the tools they need to succeed. Carissa's motherhood journey was not just a responsibility, it was her greatest privilege, and she embraced it with unparalleled devotion. Carissa was the embodiment of what a strong woman of faith looks like. She not only identified as a Christian woman, but actually lived out her faith. Despite her quiet nature, Carissa's infectious smile and warm demeanor allowed her to effortlessly make friends. Her loyalty was a cornerstone of her character, and those fortunate enough to be in her inner circle experienced the depth and sincerity of her friendship. As we reflect on Carissa's life, let us remember her for the love she gave, the faith she embraced, and the positive impact she had on everyone she encountered. We extend our deepest condolences to her family, friends, and especially her 5 children. May our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ comfort and strengthen you all through this extremely difficult time, and may Carissa's soul rest in eternal peace.